Good afternoon. I'm County Executive Ken Jenkins, and today is April 16, 2025. And today we're going to be here signing a new bill that will significantly enhance the county's ability to assess and select the lowest responsible bidder for public works contracts here in Westchester County. Joining me, of course, is our Deputy County Executive, Richard Wishney, the Commissioner of Public Works and Transportation, Hugh Grecian, and legislators Nancy Barr, Erica Lang-Pierce, and David Imamura, who will all speak today about this outstanding new bill, which was approved unanimously by the Westchester County Board of Legislators. It marks a major step forward in transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. At its core, the bill will strengthen the oversight of public works bidding by creating a more thorough vetting process for contractors. Westchester County taxpayers deserve to know that their taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely and that public projects will be completed by contractors who have a proven track record and the integrity to get the job done right. Under this law, bidders will be required to complete a questionnaire addressing their financial capacity, legal authority, integrity, past performance on government contracts, and compliance with labor and other laws. This law gives the county the additional tools that it needs to look just beyond the lowest possible price and instead focuses on who is truly the right person for the job. The person that has to manage this on a day-to-day basis is the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works and Transportation, Hugh Grecian. But first, we're going to start with the legislators that work so hard in navigating this. And we're going to start with the legislator to my right, your left, Nancy Barr.
Thank you so much, Mr. County Executive. And I also want to thank our county attorney, John Nona, who really, when I first brought this up, was very positive about it, and all of the folks who helped to strengthen it and to make it the best law it could be, including my colleague, Erica Pierce, who's the chair of Public Works, and my colleague, David Imamura, who's here, as well as the chair of the board, and of course our county executive, Ken Jenkins. I think when most people think of Westchester, they think of the things that they can see, like the beautiful parks we have, or the bridges that we have to maintain, or maybe they see us doing work in their communities with people who need benefits. But what they don't see so much of is what we're doing behind the scenes to really exemplify good government. And that's something that we've been very committed to. And I think that this legislation is a perfect example of just that. The state has a law that I'm sure made sense, which requires us to only give out the contract when we're dealing with public works matters that are over $35,000 to the lowest responsible bidder. And of course, that sounds reasonable because we want to be very cautious with taxpayer dollars. We want to make sure we get a good value. We want to make sure that bids or contracts aren't just going out to the friends of people who work here. But there were some, and there are some unintended consequences because it's not really just the lowest bidder, it's the lowest responsible bidder. And that's really where we wanted to emphasize where this law really takes the burden on the burden of defining what is a responsible bidder, how do we know they're responsible, and not only that, but it also provides that they have an ongoing obligation while they have the contract to show us that they are continuing to be responsible, that there are no lawsuits out there against them, and that they are providing good service. Because sometimes when you go with the lowest bidder, you end up with a bidder that really doesn't know how to do the work, that, maybe doesn't have all the right subcontractors lined up, maybe thinks, well, I can get the bid by going really low, but then I will, we'll just keep putting in change orders. And we've seen a little bit of this over the years. And although I think our Department of Public Works does an amazing job, this bill codifies what it means to be a responsible bidder, and has a more robust process for determining who is a responsible bidder, so that we can keep track and make sure that when we do give out a contract, it is with somebody who deserves the job and can do the job well. So I'm very pleased and proud to be here today, and I'm looking forward to having the county executive sign the bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Legislator Barr. And up next, and we're going to have Legislator Erica Lang-Pierce to come up and give her thoughts around her vote in this important bill, the Responsible Bidder.
Thank you so much. My colleague has already done a great job of explaining the bill. But I am Erica Lang-Pierce, and I chair Public Works and Transportation. And before I came into the board, like many folks who are come to the board with other life experiences, I ran a business and I ran a touring theater company, and we all had what we called that list of vendors that we wanted to keep working with, and the list of vendors who we really wanted to try to avoid. And so, with that lens and having talked to my colleague, Legislator Barr, who had this idea even before I came to the board, it was very clear to me that we needed to have a better process here, not because our department wasn't doing an excellent job. My department is doing an excellent job. But when you have a law that says that you need to have the lowest responsible bidder, and the word responsible feels a little nebulous, it becomes very easy to really hone in primarily on that issue of being the lowest bid. And when that happens, as mentioned, we might see that we don't get the same quality and workmanship, the efficient operation, safety, the timely completion of projects that we would ideally want. That value that my colleague mentioned, we don't just want the lowest possible bid, we want the best value for Westchester County taxpayers. And then, of course, we sometimes see when we go with the lowest bid that we end up with a large number of change orders. And so, as mentioned, this is going to set up a really good system for identifying when a bidder might not be responsible. The system enhances our questionnaire that we already have and currently use, creating a more unified system which includes important items like the bidder's financials, their legal capacity, their integrity, as mentioned, past performance on government contracts, and with jobs that were not just at Westchester County, things that happen elsewhere. And once that system is in place, if someone is deemed to not be responsible, it also sets up a system where they can respond to that. They can say, actually, you haven't judged us fairly, we want to argue our point. So making this not only good for taxpayers, but also fair for the contractors who work for the county. And then, as mentioned, it will create a system where everyone who ends up with this label is kept on a list for 3 years to help improve workflow going forward. So this information is not retained in any one head who might not be there at the day when a particular contract comes through. So this is really important for all of us who've ever even had a roof job on our house, who've gone to the local friends or neighborhood community page on Facebook to look up which contractors have good results, who has a tendency to go for the middle bid, all the things that those of us might take into our home. There is some version of that for us here in Westchester County, and we want to make certain that the best value is had for our infrastructure and for our county taxpayers. So thank you so much for the support for this. This is really important. We're really excited to get this done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica Lang-Pierce. I'm our Chair of Public Works and Transportation for the County Board of Legislators. Up next, we have another outstanding legislator who does so much work in our legislation area, and that is David Imamura, Legislator Imamura.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. So much has been said about what this bill does, but I want to pay tribute to the person who wrote it. So as Vice Chair of the Legislation Committee, I see a lot of bills. Some bills are complicated, some of them are straightforward. Some bills are easy, some bills are hard. This was a hard and complicated bill. So hard and complicated that I am amazed, Nancy, that you decided to take this on, because this was a bill that, as an attorney, as a practitioner, right, there are some laws that you look at it and you say, wow, this must have been really difficult to craft. And this bill, more than almost any other bill that I've worked on in my time at the legislature, was very difficult to craft. It involved numerous different county agencies. It involved lots of moving pieces. There were lots of timelines. There were lots of service deadlines. There were numerous numerous amendments that were required. And our colleague Nancy Barr did a tremendous job of ushering the bill through and making sure that this was a bill that worked for Westchester County. This was a bill that made sense from a practitioner's perspective. This was a bill that made sure that the process worked. So I want to pay tribute to Nancy, for pushing through a tremendously complicated bill, and for doing being, I think, what all my colleagues would agree, being a legislator's legislator. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Legislator Mamora. And again, after you have the challenge of making, watching the sausage get made and becoming a great bill, at the end of the day, there's the department that has to execute that. And our Commissioner Hugh Grecian of our Department of Public Works and Transportation is the one responsible for all the county contracts to get executed. And he will come now and he'll give his thoughts around the bill itself. And again, everyone has recognized that there was a process that is state mandated, that requires and has the word responsible in it. And there's always squishiness when you hear a word like responsible, because what does that mean? Because it means different things to different people. At the end of the day, Hugh Grecian and his team at Public Works and Transportation ensures that the dollars that get invested and adopted by the Board of Legislators through capital projects get executed and move forward with, again, assurances that the job is going to be done at the highest quality level, which is what all of us expect from the end of the day. So with that, let me turn back over to Commissioner Hugh Grecian. Commissioner.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon. I appreciate the efforts of County Executive Ken Jenkins and the Board of Legislators to give me more tools, to pick the lowest responsible bidder. I mean, in Westchester County, we are blessed with a number of Westchester-based contractors that are very good. They bid a lot of our contracts. But we do a varied amount of construction, parks, bridges, movable bridges now, and a few other more difficult things where other contractors come in for the first time, and to vet them is very important. The worst thing you can have is a job, and it always happens halfway through the job that things start to fall apart. Change orders come through, payments aren't done, there might be labor violations, and that just takes so much time and effort from this department to undo, get the new contractor on the job, get the contractor to accept the current work already been, half-done job, who wants to accept that. So anything that can be done up front to help us vet, I really appreciate it. It's going to make our lives a lot easier and give Westchester County the best job for the lowest price.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And again, all of us that watch and navigate through these processes, again, the Board of Legislators takes its time reviewing legislation in front of it for consideration for capital projects that range from a parks project right down to a Department of Environmental Facilities project, a movable bridge now that we have at Glen Island. I mean, there's so many different pieces and parts that go to that. And again, that word responsible was always a challenge, because it's the lowest responsible bidder, and we know our great folks that work in Westchester County do so much tremendous work to make sure it wasn't just the lowest bid, but that responsible thing was just too much in our law department. And we have at least 2 lawyers that are standing here, and and then there's at least maybe 2.5 that say, like me, that I just need an extra year, because there's interpretations of what that means. This legislation clarifies that, but more importantly, as Legislator Erica Lang Pierce pointed out in her comments, it also has a process to be able to go backwards, and as Legislator Barr has also mentioned, to make sure that there's fairness and equity for those bidders that were ruled as not responsive to that, and to have a process in place, because right now the process is in place, but again, there was just too much squishiness in it, and it's always great to have that definition and explanation that is plain and transparent, so everyone understands clearly what those rules are. So again, we thank everyone for the unanimous support of the Board of Legislators, the work of Legislator Barr for many, many years, as she pointed out. Shout out to County Attorney John Nona and the law department, because I know that they've been working on this with you for many, many years to try to get this particular piece of legislation done. And it's so helpful for the department to be able to execute and make sure that the projects get done, again, in a timely manner, because yes, there's all these contractual pieces that allow for work to be insured, and then we bring in companies, et cetera, and we have so many challenges when that happens. So again, congratulations all, and at this time, we're going to go sign this piece of legislation and get it into law. Oh, no. Oh, come on, legislators. There we go. All right. It's not a good law unless it has the sign here sticky. Right? That's good.
Leftover from tax day.
Ooh. Yeah, we didn't use that. We just hit the button.
There you go.
Right.
That's
So,
right.
all right. So on this 16th day of April, and we have a little few gray hairs left for me for the day after tax day. That's right. 2025, and with the signature.
The real signature.
Local Law Intro 2025-109, passed by the Board of Legislators of the County of Westchester by a vote of 17 votes for and 0 votes against on the 7th day of April 2025. We now have that law, and
Fantastic.
Congratulations, Legislator Nancy Barr. Right? Legislator Erica Lang Pierce, and Legislator David Imamura. Thank you so much. All right, thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate this. Again, Local Law 2025-109, which is the responsible bidders law, is now law in Westchester County. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ken Jenkins, Westchester County Executive. Have a great day.